it might be like, wow, what is it with you in the same shirt as last video? Let me guess, you're a dirty slob that doesn't know how to change themselves. And to that imaginary person, I'd say, please stop, that hurts my feelings. Just kidding. In all seriousness, the last video was just so easy to make that I decided I'm going to record the same video on the same day just because I can, alright? Thanks to the modern day invention of scripts. It feels really weird saying that. You know, sometimes when I'm making these videos, I feel like a caveman, especially in the early days, because I had just very shit camera angles and stuff. It was just bad, okay? Nowadays, it looks decent. Like, I now have a script, which isn't really a script. It's just a text file with, like, basic things to say. But, you know, it helps out with making the videos. And, you know, it's much more faster to make them now. But anyways, at the end of the day, my videos feel much more better now than they were back then, so that makes me happy. Apart from that, welcome to Tonikaku Kawaii chapter 202, brought to you by Bathhouse Scans. Thank you very much. Apart from that, I have nothing interesting to say, and let's just jump right into it. Oh, actually, I made it on time, so except the omakes. We don't count the omakes, but it turns out that their translator actually has, like, COVID, I think, or their translator is sick, so to that person, I hope you get better, and we can have 203 and 204 out, you know, in a quick time. Like I said, let's just jump right into it. Now, it turns out that the Emperor is kind of a bad friend. Just kidding, he really isn't, as far as we know. But it turns out that the Emperor no longer is interacting with Skasa-chan in any way, shape, or form. Now, Skasa-chan, surprisingly, is very fine with this, right? She concludes that, oh, maybe the Emperor now has basically, you know, gone with Kaguya, right? And there's basically no more need for her, which, okay, yeah, sounds pretty bad when you put it like that, but, you know, she's fine with it, and she's like, you know what? Maybe that's what was intended, and you know what? I'm just gonna live with it, okay? Like, it sucks, but hey, at least they're both together, and that's what matters, okay? And, you know, while, you know, she's thinking about him basically leaving her, you know, she's like, maybe someday in the future I can find someone that loves me the exact same way the Emperor loves Kaguya. Foreshadowing to NASA, you know. Skasa-chan realizes a couple things, mainly two things, really. She realizes how much color and just how much feeling the Emperor brought into Skasa-chan's life, you know, the moment they first interacted with each other, right? She also realizes that, you know, maybe it is a good thing, you know, to have that feeling of a person that you really love and that someone that loves you as well, you know, interact with you, you know, they understand how you feel, you know, that they help you and support you, right? She really likes that. And she remembers saying about, you know, the whole, there's just a ton of girls at, like, you know, at, like, the capital, right, that could have easily have been enough for the Emperor, but no. Kaguya, you know, he went out of his way to, you know, try to have Kaguya as, you know, as his girl, you know. The other girls, like I said, they would have been fine, but no, he really went out of his way to find Kaguya, right? And, you know, Skasa-chan realizes that, you know, she is by far the luckiest person on the planet to, you know, interact with the Emperor and, by proxy, interact with Kaguya. After that, we cut to the Emperor and Kaguya, you know, kind of just interacting with each other, very wholesome, right? And the Emperor tells her that, hey, I gotta leave, I gotta do a couple of things, don't worry about me, I'll be back, you know, in a couple of days, don't worry, I'll write you a ton of letters and stuff, right? You know, Kaguya is sad that, you know, he's leaving, right? But, you know, she's also sad at the fact that the letters won't be, you know, high quality anymore than they were originally, right? You know, ever since she found out that, you know, it wasn't actually the Emperor that wrote them, it was, you know, some other person, right? You know, she doesn't really probably think too much of the Emperor, right? She's like, ooh, maybe his letters aren't that high quality, right? The Emperor, you know, he realizes this, right? He's like, hey, listen, don't worry about it, okay? You know, yeah, the letters won't be, you know, as high quality as they were before, but hey, you know, I'm going to try my hardest and, you know, to make them as best as, you know, possible, right? Kaguya is like, don't worry about it. I was just playing with you, right? She doesn't matter. She doesn't care, you know, as long as it's his words, that's what matters to her, which is strangely wholesome because, you know, this version of Kaguya is much more different from our version, you know, the modern day version of Kaguya, if you will. You know, this one's very more lovey-dovey, very more wholesome, very nice in a weird way, right? Our, you know, modern day version of Kaguya is much more calculated, much more just kind of cold, which, you know, seeing Kaguya interact very, like, you know, lovey-dovey with this, you know, with the Emperor, right, kind of makes me a little sad, because it's like, she's not like that anymore, right? hopefully maybe in like another arc or something, she can, remember about these happy times, right? And, and start being a little more lively. But, apart from that, yeah, it is kind of interesting how far she's changed. After the Emperor leaves, we stay with Kaguya. Well, actually, we cut to it being nighttime with her looking up at the moon, right? She starts talking to herself. She realizes that, there must be so many more beautiful and wonderful people out there in the world that are currently looking at the moon with her right now. And, to her, it's a shame that she'll never, ever meet all of these people, right? Because apparently, she's like, oh my god, you're so, nice and stuff for looking at the moon, right? And, even if she can't, interact with these people, right? She feels good knowing that, there are actual people out there in the world that are looking at the moon, right? She feels at peace. That is, of course, until she notices something in the moon. Now, we ourselves have no idea what, she was looking at, right? It is explained, though, that, it's like apparently some, like, a group of people that are, like, trying to, get her back to the moon, right? But at this point, we don't know. All we see is a picture of the moon and, Kaguya looking very surprised and very scared at the moon. We then cut to the next day with the Emperor, right? He's probably somewhere, probably not near the capital because, he's asking about someone that's, very important to the story and I'm pretty sure isn't actually in the capital. But he asks for this craftsman called Iwakasa, which is, fun fact, Tsukasa-chan's dad, okay? So, like I said, there's probably no way that he's, in the capital, right? Unless, apparently, Kaguya lives near the capital, which, the whole where is where, we're never going to be probably told, like, where, especially, on a map stuff, but, like, maybe let's just not think about, where he is right now. But basically, he asks for him, right? Apparently he's the head servant of the Emperor, right? Very loyal to him, yada, 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 right? Now, the Emperor, he finds out that Iwakasa is a very good craftsman, guy, right? And, he asks him, hey, could you do me a solid, bro? And, help me build this, headband type thing. This special thing that he needs, right? Which, seeing the Emperor and Iwakasa just act like very nice and formal to each other feels really weird. Because, I don't know if you know this, but, in the Fly Me to the Moon story, right, the dad, the Emperor gives Iwakasa, the elixir of immortality, he says, go burn it into a mountain, right? But, he disobeys, he gives it to Tsukasa-chan, right, and, she lives, but, technically isn't a human, right? The Emperor apparently finds out and beheads the man, right, orders to him to be killed, which feels really weird, especially from the Emperor, this guy that we've known for, like at this point, like 3-4 chapters, right? He seems like a really nice person, right? It seems really weird to me, to think that this is the same person that would eventually kill his own servant, right? Because he just seems like such a nice person. But then again, in chapter 203, he gets a little more violent. So, well, I don't really know because I don't read Portuguese. I was just looking at the little Portuguese translation of it on Manga Dex as well. He seems a lot more violent, especially to Kaguya, but that's because, it turns out someone's coming to pick her up, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's really weird seeing him, interact this nice to him and just, in maybe 3 days from that moment, he orders him to just be beheaded like that. We cut to Tsukasa-chan walking alone in the mountains when suddenly she meets up with the Emperor. The Emperor's back again, right? Now, they talk for a bit, they're interacting with each other. Tsukasa-chan's like, oh, I didn't expect you to be here. Hi, how are you? How things go? Let me guess. You got rejected by this girl, right? She thinks that, the only reason why he came back is, because he got rejected, right? Now, obviously, the Emperor isn't too happy about that. He's like, hey, listen. No, I didn't get rejected by her. In fact, we have a steady relationship right now as we speak. Okay, so Tsukasa-chan's like, okay. How has it gone so far? How have you progressed in this so-called relationship of yours, right? Now the Emperor, he's very proud of this, right? He's like, absolutely fantastic. I will have you know, we have gotten to the point of hand-holding. He seems really proud of that. Tsukasa-chan, not that proud. She's like, She's very confused at the whole hand-holding thing, right? Now to us, weebs, we're like, oh my god, beauty, right? Because, the hand-holding thing, biggest trope in, manga and anime, ever, okay? Apart from the whole, good guy versus bad guy. But apart from that, right? But the hand-holding thing, It's a classic among just mangas, right? And it's just really funny to see him, be really proud of this whole, yeah, we're holding hands now. As you can see, we're gonna get married very soon. Skasa-chan is, still not understanding the whole concept of hand holding, right? But she's like, you know what? You're having fun, and as long as your relationship's going well, it's perfectly fine, okay? The Emperor's like, yeah, okay, right? But, he gets a little bit more serious, right? He's like, listen, all of this could not have been possible without you. All the help that you did to, get me to Kaguya, all of this, I don't really know how to repay you, right? So he's like, from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to say thank you, first off, right? As a friend, of course, for, doing all of this, right? Skasa-chan, she's like, thank you, and, likewise, thank you as well, because reading and writing has just greatly improved her life. It's made her, her life much better. The Emperor is like, thanks, I guess, but, in any case, I wanted to give you something, a little bit of a gift, if you will, as like, for you basically helping me out. I just want to give you this, a gift, if you will. We find out that the gift is actually is actually the headband that Skasa-chan has in the back, right? It's a new one, all right? The Emperor points out that he realized that, oh, your headband there is getting pretty old, right? So, like he said, as a thank you, he decided to have, one of his servants, which is coincidentally his dad, or, Skasa-chan's dad, right? To, make a new headband for him, right? To basically give to Skasa-chan, right? Now, Skasa-chan is like, oh my god, thank you for this, right? She was gonna apparently buy a new one, but now that the Emperor has decided to basically just give her a new one for free, he's like, now I don't need to do that anymore, right? Now, apart from that, their whole little interaction ends, right? And the Emperor is about to leave, right? But he's going, but he says like a little bit of a promise to Skasa-chan, which will never be met. He's like, I promise that that one day, the moment I get married to Kaguya, whichever day that's going to be, she and I will go out of our way to try to find you so we can all talk to each other and have a great time, right? So, apart from that, the Emperor, he gives a final send-off to Skasa-chan. Skasa-chan gives up a final send-off as well. They both say goodbye, and he leaves, goes down the mountain, right, in peace, right? And, it's very wholesome, right? Sadly, this is going to be the last time they're ever going to meet with each other, but, it's kind of a cute little send-off, Skasa-chan is monologuing, saying how, this could not have been the most happiest day in her life. She realizes that this is the happiest day, this is going to be the best day of my life, right? But, however, modern day Skasa-chan, she realizes that, this day was not, in fact, the happiest day of her life. In fact, this was the worst day of her life, right? Because, she realizes that, however happy it was, her life would get progressively worse, and, it would just be the end of her life as she knew was destroyed that day. That specific day was the end of, old Skasa-chan, right? And new Skasa-chan was going to be born after, that day. We then cut to the dad talking to Kaguya, asking her, hey, sweetie, are you good, right? Because it turns out Kaguya is apparently crying, right? He asks her, hey, what's going on? Do you need anything help, right? She talks about how beautiful this world is. Everyone she's met has just been so wonderful to her, right? And, it saddens her to say that, she has to leave, right? Yeah, the dad is like, what do you mean, right? Turns out there's an envoy coming out, basically to pick her up, right? Because, her time has come. She has to leave. And that is sadly where the chapter ends off. I think this chapter was overall really solid, okay? I think we're getting to the point where, we're going to the end game, to, the final chapters of this whole, going back to the past arc, if you will, for Skasa-chan, right? Like I said at the beginning about, the translators and stuff, hopefully they recover and, they get well and we can get chapter 203 and chapter 204. Something that I actually kind of want to point out is, Bathhouse Scans has surprisingly been much more transparent with the community, I think, much more than Tonikaku Scans. Now, obviously, I don't know if Tonikaku Scans was more transparent or not, because, maybe that, because I think their main, contact was on Discord and stuff. I'm never on Discord, really. I have an account. Like I said, I'm joined the Tonikaku, Discord server and all. I just never interact in it. But I really like how Bathhouse Scans is kind of going out of their way to being like, hey, sorry for not posting at all, one of our translators is sick, sorry about that. I really like it when, people or companies, I guess, are transparent in like how they're doing things. Apart from that, I am caught up right now, so it feels really weird, like being caught up and not always chasing the, oh, I gotta get this chapter so and so out before the other one comes. Which, yeah, I don't know. It feels kind of weird. Like I said, I hope that you enjoyed this chapter. Well, I don't even know if I said that. But I have nothing interesting to say anymore. So goodbye.